Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Ozhead podcast. I'm having a hard time speaking this morning. What's going on, bro? How are you?
I'm good. I'm just here for the dog.
I think everybody's here for the dog. That's
I think that she knows when I'm going to be doing this, and she is just scratching my leg, wanting to come.
What I find funny is like before the camera goes on, before Cole turns the light on, she's like all like, active and everything. And then as soon as the light's on, she's like, click. She just goes out.
Yeah, I mean, she hams it now. Now look, we know she knows we're talking about her.
Yeah.
So now she's looking.
Yeah.
It used to be, remember back in the day when we had, during CAO, we made cigars for Ducks Unlimited.
I remember that. Tonton had the cigar in her mouth.
Yeah. So they wanted to have like the dog on this, because she was a chocolate lab on the cover with like a cigar with a duck head in it. So, my dad got a stick. He's like, okay, chew on the stick. And the dog chewed the stick. So
and then we photoshopped the cigar. Yeah, that was clever for the time. That was great. Oh, she's out.
Now she's out. She's like, it's like, I'm tired of this. I'm gonna go to Cole.
So what's new? You've been traveling, been doing the thing?
Yeah, dude. You know what? I was in New York and New Jersey last week.
Saw the pictures.
And I did I had a couple really funny, nostalgic experiences. One of them I did that was a cigar dinner organized by a friend of mine named Jamil Ozgener, and he is the publisher
Turk
of a magazine.
America.
Yeah, Turk of America.
I remember
magazine.
this man. Yes,
great guy.
Yeah,
and he has a great network of friends. I mean, he's a super networker. And so this was a lot of like, Armenians and Turks and these are really like awesome people though.
Good energy.
Yeah, good energy.
Yeah.
We did it at this restaurant called Lefke's, which is over in New Jersey. I want to say like Bloomfield Hills, but I mean, like, I don't want to, maybe I have that wrong, but it was an awesome restaurant. And so we did a cigar dinner there. It was great. A woman came who was like running for office, and her family was like in the bakery business. So she brought like this amazing assortment of different baklavas for me. And they were incredible because I like kept it with me and like brought it, through security on the plane down. And,
handle with care.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
And then it was amazing. So, and then I went to visit my cousin, Harry. At Harry's
Shout
Havana
out
Hut.
the Harry's Havana Hut.
Harry is hilarious. So, Harry got...
Describe Harry, though, for people that obviously don't know Harry. How would you describe him?
So, Harry is...
He's a character.
He's Bulgarian-Armenian.
Yeah.
And Harry is excellent at customer service. So... his parents were in hospitality, hotel, restaurant management business, very successful. He kind of, was cut from that kind of cloth too. Mm-hmm. He worked at the Ritz-Carlton Central Park, which, is one of the top Ritzes in the U.S. And, when I met him, he would have a suit on, pocket square, tie. And I mean, like, he would do anything for everyone. So, I mean, I remember, like, he'd have these women saying, Harry, will you walk my multi-poo for me? He's like, yes, Mrs. Saperstein, my pleasure to do so. Would you like a perfume the poop bag? So, like,
your Harry is kind of getting Barat in there as well a little bit.
So, like, and now you go to Harry, and now Harry's wearing a hoodie. He's smoking cigars. He's like, "What's happening? These douchebags want to come in and steal. Screw you!" Like, Harry, what happened to the decorum here? What happened to the?
Oh God,
he is great though. He's awesome. He's still got that customer service thing, even though his approach has changed.
Yeah, sure.
He's still very customer service oriented. His customers love him. He's got this great store in Bayside, Queens. So I went there and then saw my cousin Arlene, and it was cool. It was good.
He's funny. I mean, I saw him at the trade show at the PCA.
Yeah,
end of March, and the vision of Harry walking in, like, you couldn't miss him. He's a retailer, but he just gets into the whole. He's a vibe. He's a total vibe because he had the paratrooper outfit on, like a jumpsuit, aviator sunglasses, a camo hat. And he's got the biggest smile on his face, just loving life and happy to be there. And it was so good to see him. He's just got such a good energy about him. He's fun.
No, he's great.
And then Montañez up there too, which is another guy who's great energy.
Miguel Montañez is also hilarious.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, I love Miguel.
I love him too. He's funny. So he's like, "What's going on, Poppy? Hey, man, Poppy, what's happening? What's happening, bitch?"
He's
so
great.
Cool. You're laughing because you know him. Get up here. Come on.
He's so good.
Yeah, he's so good. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. I mean,
so what are you smoking right now?
oh, I'm smoking the. So this is the new blend, the Oz Family Cigars Firsat, but it's a 6x60. Your favorite ring gauge.
Yes. Can't get enough of them.
What are you smoking?
Actually, though, but before I go to that, I can deal with that because it's pressed. And so the mouth, the mouth feel is a little bit different than having a big round stogie. You know, I just not for me. But that, in fact, I smoked it at the show. It was very, very good. I smoked the smaller samples. What size were we giving out at the PCA at first?
That was 5.5 by 52.
It was 52. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal. I loved that cigar.
Or 5 by 52.
I thought it was just right down the middle, perfect balance, not too heavy, not too light, interesting, complex. I love it.
Well, I tell you, I was like hacking it up, trying to play golf this past weekend, and which was tough for me. But I have this. I had a 7 by 52, a few samples
54.
of the 7 by 54 of the Firsat, because we used to have CAO Gold in that size, and that size outdoors. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When it's hot and when you're trying to concentrate on other things, it's just such a nice kind of, how should I say it? When you're outside, your body temperature's up and you might be doing something that requires some other concentration. To have something that is a nice kind of break and a bit sweet in the palate is so nice. So that cigar was amazing in that circumstance. So.
Probably lasted you the whole round, huh?
No. Close. I mean, I had to, know, because I mean, some dudes, they smoke cigars super fast, man. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. I was over at Matador Cigars and their GM over there.
Boris?
Not Boris.
Different guy.
They have a GM over there. I'll find his name in a second. But I mean, he is an amazing guy. Mm-hmm. He smokes cigars so fast. It's unbelievable. Like I would give him a 5.5 by 55 and literally I'd be talking to somebody and 5 minutes later I turned around and the guy is like, here. And he's like, yeah, I smoke cigars fast. And I was like, wow. But they have a slow smoking cigar contest. You know this in Croatia, started by Marco.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And that one they smoke a Corona. You know what the record time is for that? Like over 4 hours.
Oh my God! And it doesn't go out. You can't let it go out.
You can't let it go out.
You can't relight it.
So a good buddy of mine, Mose Ramey, who was at this event I did at Smokers Abbey in East Nashville, he came to it. And so I asked him. I said, "Do you still do it?" He's like, "No, man, I don't do it anymore." I'm like, "Why not?" He's like, it just after a certain point, it took away a bit of the enjoyment that you're you're sitting there smoking, and you're trying to determine when to take the next puff.
Yeah, you're concentrating on everything but the cigar.
Yeah,
the flavor and everything. Of course.
So I get that too, but what are you smoking?
I'm smoking Las Mareas. This is funny because it's shout out to Troy Hall. Troy, thank you for sending these. I get our own cigars from fans and supporters. So Troy was kind enough to send me a package. He goes, here's some cigars you won't find anymore. And so there's a small segment of Crown Head smokers that really love Las Mareas now, but we've discontinued the blend. So this is probably from 2016-ish. So it's got some age on it. Corojo wrapper, all Nicaraguan binder filler. All the tobacco is grown at the Garcia's farms. Great cigar. I miss it. It's very good, though. It's smoking great.
Speaking of which, I got to bring the drumstick ones that Paul Johnson,
We're supposed to smoke those.
So that is still in my humidor.
Yeah.
Being properly humidified.
It's kind of like what's old is new now. People are like, but it's hard to believe this thing was 8 years ago. Crazy. But as far as old stuff, but new stuff, talk some more about Firsat, because on the last episode we discussed PCA and our the pros and cons. We talked a little bit about the new releases, but now we actually have the new releases in-house in some way, shape, or form that we can actually show and talk about, take a little deeper dive into it. So that when it does start shipping in, I think we're looking at probably realistically May for both Firsat and Coroneta.
Well, I mean, there might be a couple in here, but, the box is white.
Mm-hmm. Clean.
Yeah. I mean, also so you can tell it apart from the other two because, the Maduro Aramas is like a darker, more chocolatey colored box, and the other one, Bosphorus, is, cedar, like a light cedar.
That
finished cedar.
Whatever you call it, teal, Tiffany blue, whatever, is phenomenal. I love that color.
Yeah, it ended up being really nice.
Really
nice.
And
we put a footband on it too, so that it would.
Great addition.
You know what I mean? It kind of reflects the vista because Unfortunately, even though we would like for it to be shown like this, some people, they put it sideways and then you can't see the vista.
Or worse,
so,
they just rip off the lid,
yeah,
which is terrible.
Which is not ideal.
I
But
know.
anyway, so at least you have like a hint of that here, and also in the secondary band
The
here.
colorway is gorgeous.
Thank you. What about Coroneta? I know you have a box of Coroneta.
Well, I have one of them. So we released it in two versions. We did a Habano, which the box was white, and then we did the Maduro with a black box. So this is the Coroneta box. Just matte black, really just kind of contemporary look to it with a cliche on the inside that says Maduro. The other Habano obviously says Habano. And literally, this is the only cigar we've got in the entire warehouse that has a Coroneta band on it. This is the Maduro version, which is made by Ernesto Perez Carrillo and Casa Carrillo in the Dominican. San Andreas wrapper, Ecuador, Connecticut binder. And the filler is really interesting. It is a combination of Nicaraguan, Dominican, and Pennsylvania tobacco, which was a surprise to me because when I selected the blend, Ernie wouldn't tell me what was in it until I selected it. So, but yeah, and then the Habano is actually made at Naxa in Esteli. And Raul Disla did an amazing job on that blend. It's phenomenal. A little bit more toned down, basic blend, just Ecuador Habano wrapper, Nicaraguan binder filler, creamy, beautiful smoke. I wish we had some, but we don't. But so that all three of those will be, I'm guessing, sometime mid-May. I'm thinking. I don't know. We've on both of our sides we've had packaging delays, and that's been the biggest delay. I mean, all of our cigars have been produced for weeks, if not months. They're aging, which is the good thing. But I mean, we've had snafus along the way with our packaging as well as on Oz Family too, a little bit on the Vista. That was it. But
yeah, that becomes a little bit of a interesting. I remember back in the day. Well, come to think of it, a lot of times it does come down to packaging. Even at the very beginning with CAO, I remember there used to be boxes made in Nicaragua, and they were being dried like outside. Mm-hmm. And so then rain would come in and the boxes would get wet, and I'm like, put them inside.
I remember that.
You remember that?
Totally. It's always something. There's a lot of moving parts that people don't realize. I think you just make a cigar and throw a band on it. But there's just some inside baseball with specific to Coroneta. We had everything pretty much dialed in and worked out until I got a text like one Saturday afternoon that the secondary rings were too short. And I was like, what? And they were showing me pictures where barely met each other, needed to have some overlap. So we had to do that over again. So that, when you do something like that, that could push a project back anywhere between, 8 to 12 weeks sometimes. So just a small item like that.
Now, how did you come up with the name Coroneta?
I was looking at the word coronet, which is, it was a crown worn by the lower ranks of British heraldry back in the 16th and 17th centuries. And that's why we named the sizes Baron, Duke, and Earl. And the crowns, they had a specific crown for each of these lower ranks. And they had these strawberry leaves on them around the crown. No, you're not going to remember this. But imperial margarine or whatever, we go dun da da da, and then the crown pops up on the head. This is a commercial from 100 years ago. But it had the strawberry leaves on it. Those were actually strawberry leaves. So I couldn't use coronet, so I just looked up different translations, and I literally fabricated the word coroneta.
Oh, okay.
So, because I originally wanted to do like coronado, which is the Spanish translation of cornet, but obviously...
For me, it reminds me of like a musical instrument.
Cornet. Well, there is a cornet, yeah.
Yeah, right? There is.
I thought it was easy to pronounce, and it made sense, and it just was kind of a good backstory to the crowned heads and corneta.
Do you mind talking about like how you came up with the name Crowned Heads? Because I think that's a good story. When I've told it,
I've told that story 100 times. But yeah,
really. But when I've told it out in the field, people are like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Guys should talk about this on the pod." So I mean, like, do you mind like kind of like?
Not at all.
I think it's it's a good story.
It's a fun. It's not as interesting as people might think, but. So when we started talking about the formation of the company with Mike and I, and we were talking and saying, okay, we need a name for the company. And so I would write down all these names, send them to him, and he would like some, and then I would not like some, and vice versa. And then we would agree on one, and then the trademark attorney would be like, you can't use it. So this is like 4 weeks into the whole process, and I'm watching The Wizard of Oz, ironically, on an iPad. I love that movie because there's a lot of mythology behind that movie, and you could go down the whole rabbit hole with the Pink Floyd album, and somebody died on the set, all crazy stuff. So anyway, I'm watching this movie.
Somebody died on the set?
Supposedly there's a scene when they're walking down the yellow brick road and you could see a figure in the back hanging from a tree is what the story goes. Like somebody hung themselves on set.
What?
They deny it, but there's so much stuff about that movie. Yeah, it's a crazy movie. But anyway, always loved that movie. So I was just watching it at home, and I saw this one scene before it goes to color. It's like in this sepia tone, and Judy Garland is walking towards Professor Marvel's when she gets his, he starts looking at the crystal ball and all that stuff. And there's on the side of his caravan, it said "Crowned Heads of Europe, past, present, future." I screenshotted it, and I was like, "Crowned Heads." I sent it to Mike just like that, and he said, "Yeah, I kind of like that." I said, "I wanted it to be like ambiguous enough that doesn't have to be like Condor, Huber, CH, whatever cigars. It has to be, you could create a spirit like Crowned Heads bourbon. You could have Crowned Heads coffee, whatever. I just wanted to have something that had the latitude to create under it. And that's really how it got started, just from that. And then a lot of people, I remember Cigar Insider did the announcement in February of 2011 that we'd formed Crowned Heads. And so people were thinking, oh, the C and the H, Crowned Heads, Condor, Huber, or Crowned Heads, the cap of a cigar is a crowned head of a cigar. But the real story is it just came from the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it.
Huh. No, it's great. When I tell a story, people like that too.
And it kind of comes full circle because now
we got
Oz Family Cigars and
there's a irony to it.
Yeah. And
there is karma, as my dad
at that time when this was all going on, Laura and I had just moved into the house that we live in now, and there was a tornado shelter, supposedly like the house can get ripped up, but if you're in this shelter, it could withstand a F5 earthquake, whatever, or tornado. But the previous owners had left a sticker on there, and it said "This Way to Oz," and it was Dorothy, the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, and the who else? The Scarecrow.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, that's kind of serendipitous, like "This Way to Oz," and then we did Crowned Heads and all that. So it just kind of all kind of came together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. That was it.
I wonder, Cole says that he has some interesting questions for us. So maybe we should ask Cole to ask us what are these interesting questions. And while you do that, Cole, speaking of Crowned Heads and Harry, Harry, when he got married, it was at an Armenian church. And they have a specific way of getting married. I was telling this to Montañez, and they put a crown on his head. Well, and he's all dressed up because it's a pretty formal wedding, but he's sitting like on this like throne like thing with a crown on his head, and he's sweating, profusely, I might add. And so then he's sweating, and the crown starts like kind of falling on it. He's like looking over, like trying to. And I know he's thinking, he's like, hey, these motherfucking crown.
If we could ever get him on this podcast, it would have more views than anybody. I swear, he'd be.
We can do it remotely with Harry, or like you can go up to New York and we can do it at Harry's Habana Hut. He would love to do it.
Yeah, that would be one for the ages. He's great.
Do you have them, Cole?
Yes.
All right.
What are they?
This is the first time we're hearing these questions, so it's a total surprise.
Yeah.
So first one is by Yogi Cigar.
By Yogi Cigar, okay.
What would you be doing if you weren't in the cigar industry?
What would we be doing if we weren't in the cigar industry?
How about it? Go first.
Well, we have an arts center called Oz Arts, so that is a nonprofit. It's we celebrated our 10th year last Friday. Last Friday or the Friday before last? I don't know. Things blur together. So I would be kind of doing that, and then we have land next to it, so probably working on developing that land next to it. That's probably what I'd be doing.
Oh, I would be homeless and probably living in the street because I don't know how to do anything else. This is all I've done for half my life. But, if I had to go back and go, okay, I would go on in a different direction. It would probably be like apparel design, like try to have my own streetwear brand, hats, T-shirts, hoodies, that kind of a thing.
That makes sense.
I love that. I love the design element of it. just being able to create in that lane. But
well, you're good at it. I mean, the hats that you do are really great.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Question by Cigar Prop, and do we feel a constant pressure of releasing new cigars?
Yeah.
You go first this time.
Yes. Yeah, there's I mean, back when we were in it in the old days, it was a completely different mentality of consumer, where there was more brand loyalty, and like the same guy would come in and buy his box of A. Chupman whatever once a week, or CAO Gold once a week, or whatever. Now I think it's changed so much because the consumer, the best you could hope for is to get into his rotation, because they're always trying new things. They always want new things. The first thing that somebody walks into a store, what's new, right? Retailers come up to us at the trade show, what's new? Everybody wants something new. It's like that craft beer mentality, I think. You know what I mean? Where like everybody's trying to find the next unhidden gem or whatever before everybody else does. So for me personally, yeah, I think there's always pressure to create new cigars and new expressions, and I enjoy that though. I like that pressure. I mean, it'd be pretty boring if we did the same thing and year after year didn't add to it, or it's nice to be able to create something.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it feels like that kind of, that's there, right? What's new, but that also offers a new opportunity to try stuff. And if something really resonates with someone, then you could talk about, then all right, how can we expand on that, or did we touch a nerve or something? But I mean, people think it's a easy business. It's not easy. It's a complicated business. So
it is very complex. It starts with agriculture. It's an agricultural business. So you're the slave to the crops and the harvest and the weather and the soil. And then from there, you have to take that and, go forward and create. And I think every company feels that pressure, though. I mean, even Padron had a new release this year. What did they, Padron 90th or something like that? Or, those are guys that don't really have to do anything if they didn't want to, but they're still creating new stuff. Fuente creates new stuff. The big guys, Altadis, all the General, they all create new stuff. I mean, consumer wants new things.
Well, and also, I think consumer tastes sort of evolve and change, and so
100%.
Being interactive with the consumer is also an important dynamic as well.
I think so too.
At the end of the day, it's you want to have that interaction with them and try to come up with something that's unique and interesting, and trying to meet the need of what it is that they're looking for. And who the consumer is.
I think that played a part in how you developed Firsat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right. It's because I was doing these in-store events, and a lot of people would come in saying, I want something that's mild to medium, that's got a lot of flavor, easy to smoke. So yeah.
And I think that's the vast majority still. I mean, there is that small segment of people that want something that's intense and makes you sweat, and it's like heavy, but I think the vast majority of people want something that's pleasurable to smoke, that's enjoyable. It's not a challenge to get through. It adds rather than subtracts.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, my go-to is, I love our Oz Family Cigars 5.5 by 55 box pressed Bosphorus. I like the Vitola, how it's pressed, how the smoke kind of hits all corners of your palate. I used to play tenor saxophone, so I think it has to do with the fact that, the reed for the saxophone is shaped in that way that it kind of, on the intake, it hits all corners of your palate. So I like that sensation. I think it gives you a burst of flavor. You're wanting something that is like, okay, wow, yeah,
right.
That got my attention. So I like that. I'm a very loyal guy, and I have a lot of, old, long-time friendships in the business. So I was really happy for the Plasencia family when they came out with their cigar line. And I love their Olmo Fuerte, their Diadema, actually, I thought was
a beautiful cigar.
I thought it was an excellent cigar. A lot of flavors, rich, almost like, I like dark chocolate, so it's got some dark chocolatey kind of notes to it too. So that would be my answer there for those two questions. What about you, John?
I would say, in these four walls in this warehouse, I would probably say Bosphorus B50. I think that's just...
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love that cigar. That's a great little cigar. It's like I either start my day or end my day with that cigar. It's fantastic.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's beautiful. On the Crown Head side, I would say right now, Lavaretta number 54 is still kind of my jam. And then outside of here, I would probably go back to something like Tatuaje-ish, like, but not necessarily the brown. I love the brown label, the Havana Cazadores, but Pete did a cigar called the Cabay One with the Ecuador Connecticut wrapper that was just, I think it's great cigar any time of day. Those are probably the ones that
I love the very first Las Calaveras blend. That was
the 14.
Yeah,
I've got one that I just keep in there for whenever we need to take pictures, but I've got no more than that. That was good.
Yeah, and I actually love the Jericho Hill blend too.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah,
another Garcia blend. What else we got? That's it. That was it.
That's it.
All right. Well,
if there are more questions,
always drop questions. We love to answer them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you got next?
Next, I'm going to be. So the Nashville Chamber of Commerce takes this trip. You go to a different city every year to try to see what we can learn as a city from Nashville from other cities. So last year we went to Tampa, and actually, funny enough, they wanted me to introduce a panel on the history of Tampa, and one of the gentlemen is Judge Salsines, who has a long relationship with the Fuente and Newman families. So he knew, Mr. Stanford Newman.
Wow.
And, Arturo Fuente Sr. He knew them when they were first starting out.
Wow.
So he started talking about the history of their relationship and how they started. And when I mentioned this to Carlito and Cynthia, they knew him immediately. And they were like, oh, yeah, he's kind of like a legendary figure in Tampa. But this year it's Phoenix. So we're going to be going to Phoenix. We're actually going to be doing a casual kind of cigar. After the day is done, people have had dinner, we're going to get together at Fine Ash Cigars next week on Wednesday night.
Cool.
As a group, just to kind of hang out with Sam and Rosie over there. And, they've created a great atmosphere and vibe there.
I just knocked your mic over.
So that's kind of what's next. And then we've got like a slew of events we're doing with Tinderbox Charlotte in May with Craig Cass. So we're going to be gearing up for that too.
That's good stuff. One of the best retailers in the country.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's great. I mean, the thing of it is that what I appreciate about Craig and Crawford and their team at Tinderbox Charlotte is that not only are they great retailers, but they're also I think genuine friends.
Yeah.
When you kind of re-enter the business, it's nice to hear that people say, "Oh, it's good to have you back," but also to have people that say, "Okay, it's good to have you back. Now, what can we do to kind of promote your brand?" I think is really important and appreciated.
Yeah, so definitely a relationship-driven business, and they're some of the best, no question.
What do you have going on?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm stuck here in this cave, but I'm working on about 4 different new projects, mostly catalog-driven and website-driven for some pretty big box customers that are going to be fun, interesting, a little bit not normally what I would do, but I'm having fun working on it. So
yeah,
that'll be fun. Create different stuff. So yeah, I got my hands full of product development at the moment. And then we're going to try to obviously get out Coroneta. We got Blood Medicine coming in end of next week as we tape this today. So it should be out on the shelves at the end of April, beginning of May. And that's a fun project because it harkens back to Nashville. Yeah. And there's a great backstory to merchants, and Max Goldberg, our good friend, helped us with that. And then Coroneta's coming out, and then a couple of other stuff right behind that. So
then also I have some events I'm doing with Neptune Cigars down in Florida.
Liz. Yeah,
they're great. So I'm looking forward to those too. I'm doing Behind the Blends at both two Neptune locations, which you can find on their website, and then also with the Tinderbox Charlotte as well. So
yeah, and just go to crownheads.com, click on Roadshow, and we'll have all the events, Tim's events, everybody's events. It's updated on a daily basis. So if you want to see when Tim's coming out there or Crown Heads is coming out there, it's all there. And we got quite a bit of shows coming up, actually.
Yeah.
When I looked
and
at
I
that
might
page,
bring
so.
Minnie with me. I mean, I don't know. She seems pretty comfortable.
Can she get on the plane?
My wife's like...
put one of those security vests on her?
Yeah, my wife's like, the dog smells like a cigar. So See, she knows we're talking about her
like,
again.
what is it? What is it?
She's like, what is it now?
Good stuff.
She's used to the cigars.
Good stuff. Yeah, and at some point I got to start working on the TA exclusive too.
Yeah.
That's coming up 6 months, so it'll be here before you know it. But that's about it for 16, right? So until we see you on 17, keep smoking Crown Heads, keep smoking Oz Family Cigars. Drop a question, comment below, all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you guys.